All right. Good evening. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, Wendy. Good to see you. Pearl, I see you're here. Little Season Fellowship. Donuts in the house. We have Trey's Dojo. Lucas Williams, and of course, the whole crew is here. Goodness gracious. You guys are amazing. You know, I look forward to these live streams every time I open my phone and I see a notification or anything like that, and I'm like, oh, who's going live right now? And I'm hoping it's somebody I care to listen to, you know, not somebody feeding me a bunch of mess, you know, just a bunch of junk. Hope you guys can hear me pretty good. I had a little issue this past weekend where I dumped a glass of water trying to clean and move stuff around and kind of wiped out my computer. So hopefully everything goes pretty good with it. It just keeps working and doing its thing, and hopefully I don't put too much stress on it. Right now I've got my background turned off, so it's just regular background now. So there's the reason for that. But other than that, you know, welcome back, guys. I know it's I haven't been on in the past week because I was on call and I didn't want to take any chances. You know, I didn't want to risk giving the enemy tools to work with when it comes to trying to talk and explain and go over these unique discoveries that people are seeming to be coming into when it comes to the little season and what's going on with our deception and this global world great deception that somehow gotten over all of us. You know, I don't think any one of us are too naive to, you know, not admit that we've been deceived. And we've been deceived on a massive level. I mean, it's unreal, really, how crazy big this whole charade really is. You know, when it comes to everything we know, we rely on the experts to tell us what's what. More importantly, we do that because we're lazy. And I say that with love because if at the end of the day, we're putting the weight of discovery on the shoulders of other people. And sometimes we put the weight of that discovery on the wrong shoulders. And I'm not going to sit here and say that I know everything or that everything I say is the absolute truth. It's the truth as best as I can explain it and the best I can interpret it. And that's the best I can give you and say to that. But there are people in this world, man, there are some crazy, ridiculous people in this world that have schemed and schemed and schemed and have been scheming for years. I like to turn my Revelation or Bible Gateway audio on sometimes and just listen to that dude talk as I'm doing other things. He's reading the Bible basically, and it was talking about the kings being uprooted. And as I was sitting here thinking about these kings being uprooted, I got to thinking, you know, we kind of have kings today, but these kings don't really have power. Their power comes from the banks or the bankers and the ones that own those banks, those people. Whatever conspiracy corner you want to crawl into, those people, the theys, the who's in control, those are the ones that are really in power. And I'm sitting here thinking about this as I'm listening to it. I'm thinking, I could see how there could be people with negative agendas present while even the kings are being removed from their positions of power and authority. When it comes to trying to figure out how and why there would have been people with satanic, I guess, agendas or negative or self-fulfilling agendas, even during the millennial kingdom. It's a thing we wrestle with whenever we dive into this subject, and so I think as we get through this lesson, this book's gonna be miraculous in helping us figure this thing out and understanding the answer to these questions that I have, that hopefully you guys can reciprocate from that. Before I move on, let's catch up with the chat over here. Let me get this swapped over here. All right, I'm gonna scroll back up. Oh, good. I see Chris Lucas has joined us this evening. Ruthless Savage is in the house. Let's see. Everybody is, man, this is a warm welcome. I wasn't expecting so many people to just be here in support of this channel and this message this evening. You guys are awesome. Let's see. It's a small circle, Deanna, but I'm also everywhere. That's Wendy, of course. She's probably the Little Season moderator. I think when it comes time for all of us to be judged, that's a good thing to add to your resume, to be able to say that I was a part of this, that I didn't just sit back and do nothing. I spoke up. And that's one thing I love about this community, because, well, I'm just going to be honest. Before I met you guys, you ladies and gentlemen, before I knew anything about you all, I felt alone in this world. Like I just no one understands me. I can't talk to anybody. I can't explain what's going on. I can't tell you, this is what it is. This is what I'm thinking. This is what it says. This is what I want to talk about. I just couldn't. And then I come across some of these YouTubers talking about similar things that I'm talking about or have been trying to talk about. And suddenly here you guys are. And it's been an amazing journey. Really. It really has. Getting to know each one of you through the comments and through the chats. It's pretty fun. Not to just watch someone like Paul at Understanding Conspiracy, or Connor at the Cult of Con, or Tala at Kingdom Within, or JT Follows JC, or Madeline at Leaving Babylon, and we have Jason Jack, and oh man, there's just so many. There's a growing number of people talking about the Little Season, and it's one thing to sit here and say Little Season in the way that we say it, but we need to be also careful about idolizing that title. I mean, it's a label is what it is. And with most labels, they get twisted and turned around and all, just flipped off. Yeah, it just gets taken out of context whenever that happens, is all I'm trying to say. Let's see. Truth Unfiltered, brother. If I hadn't found this family, man, I don't know where I would be. Shaking my head. I know it wouldn't have been a good place. Yes, that's from Trey's Dojo. I agree, man. I mean, it's awesome, really. The last week, I haven't had to worry about setting up a presentation or going live or um, being on screen or anything like that. Or I just kind of did my job. I focused on work and I basically chilled out for the last week if I wasn't at work. And during my downtime, I was able to catch up and hop into several other content creators' chats and try to engage and get to know you all, and hopefully you guys get to know me, and in this community as it grows we'll all know each other. I mean, I know what each one of you look like, but I'm going to know what each one of you look like eventually. I mean, we're all going to meet each other, and it's going to be an amazing experience and opportunity whenever that time comes. And that's the thing I don't think people understand about this whole little season deception that's going on right now. It's that the end is not the white throne of judgment. I mean, that's not the end. There's a whole nother world and life ever after. I mean, there's forever with Jesus. I mean, it's going to be the most amazing forever you can imagine. And that's what we all should be striving towards. And it's sad how the church community has gotten people fixated on this 1,000 year grouping of time that Jesus is going to come down here, save you from all your misery and all your sins, and you're going to live happily ever forever after. But during that 1,000 years, not technically ever after, but ever after, his kingdom's going to go on. It's going to be metaphorical. It's going to be spiritual. It's going to be all these other wild things. And I have no problem with it being any of those things. I have no problem with what the truth is. What I have a problem with is the same issue I see a lot of people within this community have also gone through. And that issue is, we hear you, but we're reading this thing. We're looking at it and we're going, but it doesn't say what you're saying. It says the opposite, or it says this other thing. And then you get fed a line of BS and garbage, metaphors, and, oh, they meant it to be this or it meant to be that. And all of that does is it just says, hey, I know that there's something going on, but I don't care enough to look into it. I'm satisfied with what information and what little bit I do know. And that's the folly, the problem with this whole great deception, this whole self-fulfillment that's captivated the whole world. It's this Luciferian doctrine mixed in with everything else. And speaking of doctrines, I think Paul said it best. This isn't a doctrine. This is just this is just us seeking the truth, and this is just what the truth is. This isn't a doctrine. It's simply the truth. And it either says what we're saying it says, or it doesn't say what we're saying it says. What I don't want to do is I don't want to mislead anyone and tell you it says one thing or the other. I'm going to read it, and we're going to go over it, and then that's how we're going to figure out what does it really say. And a lot of times when we get to parts in it that don't make sense, that are kind of confusing, if we just barrel on through it and just keep reading, it usually tells us exactly what we need to know about it. In the last episode, we ended with a few verses in 16. And I want to start back over with chapter 16 and kind of move forward from there so we don't get sidetracked from where we were. But those that are new to this channel, new to this series and these episodes, I guess, welcome, guys. I mean, it's a blessing. I've seen a lot of people have I say a lot. It's a lot to me. A lot of people have subscribed and have joined our ranks over here in the last week. So that's pretty good. And it's really all thanks to you guys. If it weren't for you guys being here right now, that's you, Donut, Pearl, um, Karen, and Preston. I see one peculiar person, Deanna. All right, Deanna. Interesting. Ain't buying it. Um, Ain't buying it's here as well. You guys, all of you, Wendy, all of you guys in this community are why this channel even exists. But as I've said before, my main goal with all of this is to be able to reach those who have no understanding of what we're talking about. How did we get to this point? What suddenly changed that made us go, we should question literally everything. The seminary, especially the seminary. I believe a lot of this began with the seminary, and I throw a lot of emphasis on education and how we should stray away from education quite often. But if I'm being clear, I really believe that the church had a lot more involvement in this before education, but they kind of go hand in hand. It's still a matter of being taught. It's what they were taught that led to what we're being taught. And all of that comes from these people in this book that we've overlooked so many years of our lives, many of us, and have just kind of, like I said, just expected that guy on Sunday at the pulpit there to tell you what this book says and tell you what it means. But if you've been, for those that have been here, you know that all the way up to chapter 16 here, it's been one terrible thing after another. Boom, 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 boom. And some of it hadn't happened, and some of it was a vision of past events or events to be had, and then it became then it's going to become more current, more present. It's slowly building that up to where John is no longer in the spirit and he's now in the body, and he's seeing these things, he's witnessing these things with his eyes. And so, yeah, anyways, but the point of that, before I get off into the scripture here, is that the last few episodes, what we wanted to make clear in this understanding is that when it comes to this little season, the tribulation having already happened is a blessing. That is a huge like, I mean, y'all don't understand how big a blessing that is. The events that those people experienced, the trials of tribulation were the worst events in all of human, worse than the flood. I mean, yeah, the flood killed everybody, but at least that was a quick end. I mean, that ended rather quickly. This went on for years. And these events were devastating. They were terrible. And we learned, like in chapter 16, verse 1, where it says, "And I heard a great voice out of the temple saying to the seven angels, Go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image." All those that accepted the mark of the beast, they got grievous sores. It was a plague. So it was a very uncomfortable experience. And just that alone would have been uncomfortable. For a lot of people, that would have been the end of their world. But there would have been people that would have managed and probably survived through that. And that's where this second angel comes in. And it says, "This angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man. And every living soul died in the sea." Every creature, anything alive in the sea is dead. It's gone. It's no longer living. That's sores. Everything's now dead in the sea. Don't hang up fishing. There's no need in that. You're not going to catch anything alive. And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and the fountains of water, and they became blood. You're not drinking that. I mean, I don't know. I guess you could technically drink blood or blood water or whatever. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do that. But there you go. Now you don't have no food or water, and now that's gone. And then it says, and I heard the angel of the waters say, sorry. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art and wast and shall be, because thou hast judged us. All right. I'm not sure I understood what I just read. So let me back up and make sure I didn't mess up that. It says in verse 4, it says, And the third angel poured out his vial upon the rivers and fountains of waters, and they became blood. Okay, I understand that. And I heard the angel of the waters say, Thou art righteous, O Lord, which art, and wast, and shall be, because thou hast judged us. Oh, he's here now. That's him hearing the angels refer to God, basically saying that God is righteous. Yep. These bad things are happening to y'all. Y'all need to understand that these bad things that are happening to y'all are happening by a righteous God. So you are the problem, not God. These people down here are causing their own misery, basically. It's basically what I get, what I take from that. Then it says in verse 6, For they have shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. For they are worthy. For they shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink, for they are worthy. That really is weird, because it really it sounds like the ones that shed the blood of the saints be worthy. So because I don't understand that, I'm going to move forward. I'm going to go on to verse 7. Let's see if it corrects our understanding. It says, And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. Okay, what this is, now we understand what it's talking about in verse 6. It says, For they shed the blood of saints and prophets, and thou hast given them blood to drink. He's talking about the ones that were going after the prophets, going after the saints. They believed they were worthy. And so because they believed they were worthy, it says, For they are worthy. And I'm going to take that as they believe. Now, I know that doesn't say that, but if we read in verse 7, it says, And I heard another out of the altar say, Even so, Lord God Almighty, true and righteous are thy judgments. What it's saying is that whether it's good things happening for the good people or it's good things happening for the bad people, doesn't matter. God is righteous in whatever is going on. Whether it's good at your house and bad at mine doesn't change the fact that that God is righteous. That's what that's trying to tell you right there. Then it says, And the fourth angel poured out his vial upon the sun, and power was given unto him to scorch men with fire. This is him just talking about when it's the future event that happens when it's basically so hot outside, you just can't go outside. People are literally bunkered down in their homes. They're not going outside, is what this is talking about. That it's another event that's gonna happen. And I think it happens in the next chapter. But the point of that is what this is doing so far is just building you up to understanding that where it talks about the good. I mean, that's a bad thing for the prophets and the saints to be killed, right? That's not a good thing for their blood to be shed. However, for the people that would want to shed their blood, that's a good thing for them. So they enjoy that. I mean, they're happy. They're winning. And so that's what it's saying. So all it's saying is that whether you're over here on this side or they're over there on that side, everything is happening exactly the way God has designed it to happen. It's not going to happen any other way. It doesn't change that you make the choice within your own lives to to be whatever character within this whole thing that he has going on with understanding as far as why do bad things happen. I guess that's really all that boils down to. Is simply answering the big questions that we've always had for so many years, and without really properly understanding why we're being told and reading these things, we sometimes miss out on those little lessons that would have made our lives less painful had we just had these little lessons explained to us a little bit more clearer when we were learning and growing. And it's kind of, I guess that's why all this is important to me, because I have young people that depend on me and they're called my sons, and I love them to death, and I want the best for them, but I want what's best for them to be better than what was best for me. The only way for them to achieve that is to be righteous fruit. And so I need to produce righteous fruit. So I'm gonna do my best by trying to explain things not only to you guys, but the way that I'm explaining it, but also in this way for my sons, for my future generations, and hopefully they can come across this and say, oh, that's what my old man was talking about, or that's what old Papa was talking about. Can't believe he was. That's if we have that much more time, and God willing, and pray we do have that much more time. At least I'd love to be a grandfather. On the other side of that, though, this could all culminate and come to an end next year, and it wouldn't bother me any more then it happening then than it would bother me happening 15, 20, 30, 50 more years from now. When it happens, when God decides to judge us, shouldn't matter to anybody. If your walk is righteous, if you are following Jesus and you are trying to walk the talk, then I don't think you should have to worry. I mean, the white throne of judgment, any of that, you shouldn't be worried about any of that. And because all that's for the people that are the naysayers. That's for the ones that, even with this information, even with these opportunities, still reject the truth. That's the ones that need to worry. That's all your naysayers. That's your rises of the community. That's your I don't know who that girl was that Paul and JT were kind of going over the other night, breaking her video down. But all of those people that kind of look into the Little Season for an hour or two and then reject it completely, those are the same. Those people are the ones that have awakened a little. They understand a thing or two now, but this community, not ours, obviously, but their community apparently has somehow influenced them in a way that now they've become victims of their own idolatry. They now know a thing or two, but not from you, because who are you and who am I, and what are y'all talking about? What are y'all? This is definitely, I've never heard this, at least for the ones that say they're flat earthers. Now they can say they've had plenty of years to look into. They were probably rejected it for 15 years and now have finally decided to accept it. It's the same principle. These people get caught up in this world, this YouTube world, and yes, it's nice having subscribers because you guys make the community what it is. You guys make the content. I mean, regardless of what I say, I wouldn't be saying it and talking about it if you guys weren't listening. Obviously, we talk about the things that we we like to talk about. We like to listen and go over and discuss. I wanted to be able to meet all of you and talk to everybody and be, and hear everybody's perspective and what everybody has to say and what led them to these understandings. We got a big community that's about to be the biggest. And when you think about all these different doctrines and denominations, Paul was right. If y'all haven't seen his videos on his channel, Understanding Conspiracy, he was right when he was talking about that. How, I don't know, it's like the rest of the community, or not the community, the rest of the world, they look at it like, how dare you question the church, when it's okay to question literally everything. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to question one thing, why not question all of it? And what's wrong with questioning all of it? But some people don't like it. I mean, they don't tell me something new. I'm fixated in my own little bubble here, and I like it. Don't change it for me, and that's, I don't know. That doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it, but that's just the way it is. That boy is out. He is snoring. So if you guys hear that big boy snoring back there, I apologize. Brother John Fry, see you joined us. Welcome, brother. Oh man, speaking of 0 degree, it's supposed to get freezing here in the next day or so. So we'll see how that works out. That may actually be better because it gets hot in here, and this computer keeps trying to overheat on me. It's doing pretty good. It's holding it. It's hanging in there. It's holding on right now. But all right, let me get back to what I was saying. Well, I mean, where we were at in this book. Okay, it says, and men were, verse 10, and the fifth angel poured out his vial upon the seat of the beast, and his kingdom was full of darkness, and they gnawed their tongues for pain, and blasphemed the God of heaven because of their pains and their sores, and repented not of their deeds. They're going through they are so in love with themselves and this world. They're suffering right now, and they're cursing God. They're blaspheming God because of what they're going through, when they're victims of their own doing is what they are. God didn't do that to them. Just the same as the problems we go through in life, God isn't necessarily doing that to us. He gives us these opportunities, and we take them or we leave them. And when it comes to Jesus Christ, there's not many opportunities we're supposed to take. It's a very thin line of opportunities that we're supposed to stick with, and it's easy to get off track with that. And especially when it comes to these labels and titles and the I know a thing or two, or you don't, all this competitive nature that we have, it can mislead us. And so I just don't want people to think that within our community we're out here Bible bashing folks and trying to get people to join us over here on the light side or the dark side. We're not, we're not crazy. We just read the Bible. We like what it says. We understand it, and it makes sense when you read it within the lens of perspective that you're supposed to read it in. Get a drink of this real quick. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings and of the east might be prepared. What it's talking about, I'm gonna just go ahead and cheat a little bit. It's referring to the kings and we're about to get to that. It's when the kings get uprooted. This is a preparation. It says the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great Euphrates, and the waters thereof dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. Because this is now it's basically telling you that it's so dry, it's like a road now between here and there, between here and where the kings are. It's just it's just letting you know that at that moment, after that, it's over. It's game on. Jesus is gonna be here. It's what it's telling you, basically. But if you were new to this, you might not have known that just reading that line for the first time. When you move on, that's what I was saying earlier, how when you read this thing and sometimes it doesn't make sense, just hang in there, keep reading, and it usually clarifies it, or at least it gives you enough understanding for it to make some sense, so you can at least make heads or tails of what it's talking about. And it says, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to battle of the great day of the God Almighty. This is Jesus talking right here in verse 15. It says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. Behold, I come as a thief, fast. I mean, you don't even see me coming. Blessed is he that watches. So those that are sitting up, going, looking around, checking on him, the thief isn't going to get past him. Jesus, isn't going to get past you, is what it's saying. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments on. They didn't go to bed. They stayed up all night. They said, the Rev has got a show that comes on at 8 o'clock. That's usually what time I go to bed. That's my bedtime, but I'm going to stay up and watch it anyways. Now, that's a comparison, and I'm not trying to put myself in that category with Jesus. I'm just saying that's as an example. That's all that is. He's just letting you know that you don't want to be caught like trying to take a shower or doing things without clothes. Have your shoes on. Be sitting on the couch ready to go whenever he comes, because these guys are living it up. These kings are they're in control. They are hammering out in the world, and yet they don't understand this is happening, whether they like it or not, and it's happening fast. And he gathered them together into a place, in the Hebrew tongue, Armageddon. Armageddon is, let's see, let's just ask, let's get rid of that. Let's pull this up. What is Armageddon? Let's see. What Armageddon? But I don't want to do a film search. I'm just going to do that. I don't know why it's pulling that up. I don't want to do a film. I think I'm spelling it wrong. There we go. I guess you got to be clear what you're trying to tell this thing. In the Bible, Armageddon is the site of the final battle between good and evil at the end of time. Okay. For those that are new to this, these are the things that we talk about in this community when we say you got to have discernment. You got to know what's right and what's not right about the information you're reading, especially when it comes to the Internet of Things. this is AI overall. I don't know. I figured it was going to be regular Google search, but I don't. I guess AI is taking over everything. In the Bible, Armageddon is the site of a final battle between good and evil at the end of time. With That's not right, but with that would make you think that that this is all going to happen at the end. I mean, it would make you think that we're not that we're in the it. I guess they could use that to make you believe you're in a different part of time than you really are. I was trying to figure out how to say that better, but that's the clearest I could come up with. It's a tool to deceive you, is all that is. But that's not what Armageddon is. When we look at Armageddon, let's see. The Hebrew phrase for Armageddon is Har. I'm not even going to try that, which translates to the mountain of Megiddo. Har means mountain or hill, and whatever that is, it means place of crowds. Armageddon is a place. It's a place. It's not a. This here was a place. It wasn't. It wasn't an event. Not yet. But people have read this and placed these event. They're placing events in the wrong places within Scripture. Those that have been following me, they know what I'm talking about with that. But the ones that are new to this, what I'm referring to are the content creators that are misleading people through scripture by taking events and placing them in the wrong places within time, and in doing so have fooling themselves and trying to fool you guys into thinking that, I mean, Jesus is on his way and just keep doing what you're doing and everything's about to be all right. He's about to make it good. You're about to get beamed up. Don't worry. It's all going to be good. And they've confounded the masses with that for the last several generations. I mean, this has been going on for hundreds of years. All right. ADHD kicking in overdrive. Let's get back on track. On verse 14, we were talking about where, actually, we're going to move past that. In verse 15, Jesus is on his way, no shame in his game. And it says, he gathered them together in a place in the Hebrew tongue called Armageddon, and the seventh angel poured out his vial into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne, saying, it is done. This is just letting you know, when Jesus gets there, it's over with. I mean, it's game over. It's his way, no other way, period. There's not going to be much choice in the land. It's not like there won't be a choice. I'm saying there won't be much choice in the land. And and there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since. All right, in my head, it said, I had it saying, I was reading it the way I talk normally. Such was not since men were upon the earth, saying it is, and so great. Man, so I guess I need to upgrade my glasses. I can't see as good. Let me pull this up where I can see it a little bit better. I'm having trouble reading tonight. Everything's moved around a little bit. I've kind of gotten things shifted back a little ways from me. All right. So let me get back on track here. Verse 17, we read through that, and 18. And there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as not since men were upon the earth. So mighty an earthquake, and so great. Now, the reason I'm saying it like that is that's important to understand, because that's what Jason Jack is talking about when it comes to the mud floods. When it comes to these floods, these mud floods, breakdown video that JT and Paul did the other day from that TikTok lady, those floods we're talking about, it's not the flood. It's not like the flood. It's this. This is what we're talking about. These earthquakes would have caused massive tsunamis, massive tidal waves, just flooding like crazy. I mean, creeks would turn into rivers. I mean, all it would take is a little bit of shaking of that ground and that dirt to become liquefied and start moving and flowing. And next thing you know, you're having mudslides and mud floods. That's what that's talking about. All of those events that led to all these buildings getting buried. That's what it's talking about right there. And it says, and the great city was divided into three parts, and the cities of the nations fell. And great Babylon came in remembrance before God to give unto her the cup of the wine of the fierceness of his wrath. These events that these people go through are not just tragic, they're horrible. I mean, earthquakes felt all over the world, breaking the land up. Imagine, I can imagine having an earthquake so bad that it's separating families. I mean, and there's so much going on, they don't even have time to get back to each other. It's horrible, horrible, horrible things that are going on. I'm preaching on that so that y'all understand the blessing that all of this has already happened. The fact that we don't have to deal with this, it's just a blessing. It is probably the best gift God could have gave any of us undeserving people, is to not have to deal with and go through all these horrendous and tragic events. It says, and every island fled away, and the mountains were not found, and there fell upon men great hail out of heaven, every stone about the weight of a talent, and men blasphemed God because of the plagues of hail, for the plague thereof was exceedingly great. Now these hailstones, what they're talking about, they would have been like, you would have died if you got hit in the head with one of these. That's how big these hail, that's what a talent, that's what they're explaining. That's what they're telling you a talent is. And then it says every island fled away and the mountains were not found. Now, I thought about this for a while because we have mountains. But then I thought about it some more. The only reason I call these mountains is because of my educators who taught me and told me that they are mountains. And if I'm questioning everything, maybe I should question what we're calling mountains. I'm saying that it's possible that that what we have as far as these little mountains are probably in scale small compared to the real mountains. I don't know. I'm just saying that would be a rabbit hole that you would fall victim to. That's not an important event necessarily that we need to cling to, which is what a lot of people will do. They'll look at that and say, well, there's still mountains. Well, there could be. But the truth is, these events in this time, in our time, they have nothing to do with each other. Whether there are mountains today and there used to be mountains or there's not none of that's important. What's important, though, is that we understand why it's talking about this. In verse 21, it says, and there fell upon men a great hail out of heaven, and every stone about the weight of a talent. And these men blaspheme God. I mean, they can't go outside without getting killed by hail, and they still can't repent. Every bad thing could happen, and they will still not repent. That's the problem with that group of people. You don't want to be a part of that group of people, but more importantly, that don't really even resemble our most asleep folks out there, the most left weird. I don't know how to say this politically correct, but the most unbothered people, I guess, the most unbothered people with it. I don't know, it's hard to understand people. I think that's all I was going with that. All right, let me catch back up with chat here before I get too far off here. Spirit Church Ministry says, while visiting Rome, the Littles find the Italian Littles are under the oppression of a still existing Roman Empire. Dinky is mistaken for a great gladiator and uses it to challenge a little emperor. I think that's a response. So let me go back up. All right. If I go back up too far, that's a lot. You guys have been talking. This is awesome. I got a lot of conversation to go back and read. Well, all right, let's see. In Hebrew, Wendy says in Hebrew, pictograph. Hey, Alf Ref, spiritual man. Hey, Reshman, heart is the spiritual authority of the mind. I would have to go back and read to catch back up with you guys. All right, so let me just go back to this. Actually, I think I'm out of order here. Change that to live. My chat stopped working. They are probably just melted structures in cities. All right, one peculiar person, Deanna says, yes, Rev, we don't have to endure all that. Although the spiritual battle we are fighting, I believe, is more intense. Now, that's a profound statement right there. And I don't know if I can argue with that. I just don't. It does make sense to me. Because I can see where you're going with that. Our physical bodies are really nothing. I mean, it's just a vessel. What's important is our spirit and our soul. What makes us who we are. And so, yeah, I feel you there. Yeah, all right, I get you. She says, and we don't have to endure all that, although the spiritual battle we are fighting, I believe, is more intense. It's battle of the mind, Armageddon. Oh, the translation. I see what you're saying. Oh yeah, you're talking about the translation spirit. All right. I think that's what you're saying. It's what the pictograph. Okay, yeah. All right. Now I'm following you. It says that, and Karen Ann Preston says, the old devil doesn't want us to say nothing here. Yes. Doesn't want us to say a thing. Stay quiet. Just, you know what? Just be at church on Sunday morning with your checkbook, pay your little tithe and your offering, and sing your songs and say your prayers, and yeah, just move on. Just keep doing things as normal. That's it. That's exactly what the devil wants us to do. Just like he has us all segregated and separated in thoughts and beliefs, and through different doctrines and denominations, and just tons and tons. Especially with our vast education system, all these different schools of thought. He has whipped our intelligence with stupidity through all these different ways of thinking. But at the end of the day, all those other ways have one thing in common, and that's you. You are the center of all of those other thoughts. And I don't want to have to be careful with this, but you are special. You are important. That doesn't necessarily mean you're the most special or you're any more special than anyone else. But saying that doesn't take away from the fact that you are special. So yeah, we are special, but at the end of it, we're we're not in this truth community because we needed to be the center of the truth. We're in this truth community because we're trying to find the center of this truth. And as far as I can tell, Jesus is the center of this truth. And if that's not what you're looking for, then this is not the community for you, but it should be. I don't want to say could, because obviously you're here. And if you're not, this is where you need to be. Not just in my channel. I'm talking about active within the discussion of Jesus in the Little Season, Jesus in the Millennial Kingdom, Jesus and his kingdom come. However you want to say it, just Jesus. If you're not searching for the truth, man, you're not searching for the right things. And you need to, and it isn't up to me to tell you what you need to do. This book, let this book be your guide. At the end of the day, you can be angry with God all you want, I guess, but it's not advisable. In chapter 17, verse 1, it says, "And there came one of the seven angels, which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither. I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have made drunk with the wine of her fornication." It's saying he's like, hey, come here, let me show you. This is what's fixing to happen. He's going to show it to him, and then he's going to see this. John is going to see these things happening. So he's letting him know what he's showing them, but he's showing them their crimes. This is what they're guilty of. These are their sins. And it says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of the names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns." A lot of people have read this, that they do this a lot, apparently. They get to this point, they cling to these words, they start thinking about them. What does that mean? 7 heads, 10 horns. They start thinking about it. What does that mean? They start digging. They'll go look in them other books, and they'll say, hey, that book says this, that book says that. But if instead of doing that, we're really not supposed to do that. We're supposed to just keep reading. If it doesn't make sense or you don't know about it, it may not even be important enough for it to make sense to you. Everyone with eyes to see and ears to hear, that's not just people with choice. I mean, some of this stuff will not ever be clear to everybody. And I don't know why that is, but I'm not God. I didn't decide that. It's just the way it is. But what I'm saying is that this thing is really does clarify all of the misconceptions about what it could or couldn't mean. With whom, and it says, "So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornications. And upon her forehead a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. And I saw the woman drunken with the blood of saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. And the angel said unto me, Wherefore didst thou marvel? He's asking him, what's the big deal? Like, why are you looking at it like that? Why are you marveling after this? He's just blown away at the magnitude, the level of intensity going on within this Babylon, this city. He's seeing the world for what it really is the way I'm taking that. It's that, yeah, he's seen a lot. He's John. He's the revelator. He's seen a lot. But there is a lot within the world that we don't all get to see necessarily. And that's why communities like this are so important to me, because the things that I don't see, JT follows JC sees. And the things he doesn't see, Ricardo over at Contend for Faith. It's what he sees. And when he doesn't see something, Jason Jack, he's going to see it. I promise you, Jason Jack's going to see something that you didn't see. And that's just, that's all that's how if I'm looking at this through his lens, that's how I would be seeing that. It's all I'm trying to point out there. Whoa, what a blessing. All right, so the cult of Con, we got Con Man in the house. Yes, sorry I'm late. I was having a power nap. God bless you all. I probably should have sent you a text, but I didn't want to seem too, I didn't want to be like, hey man, I'm going live, come hang out. But then again, I probably should have, because it's not about me. It's about Jesus anyways. It's about the word. It's about truth. So I kind of got to get past the normal rhetorics that kind of go along with normal everyday interactions with folks. We have somehow mastered the art of being able to say a thing without actually saying a thing, so as not to offend the wrong people sometimes. And I hate that it's come to that, and I wish we could just be more direct and straightforward these days. But that's all I want to say about that. I just random thought popped in my head. But it says, I see Cult of Con, he's hanging out with us now. Good to see you, brother. I'm glad you're here, and hope that you had a good nap. And you guys, Connor, he has grown a lot in this community, and I look forward to seeing his growth as he continues to grow within it. He's learning, and he's learning a lot. Not just about Jesus. He's learning a lot about the world and how it works, and he's learning that through experience. And so he's and I see that, and he carries it well. He's very humble, and I love his vibe. He's got a very, very good atmosphere over there at the Cult of Con. So if you guys like to just hang out with somebody who's on your side, it's on your team, Cult of Con on Sundays for sure. I know he has streams on Wednesdays as well, and some other days. Just go check his channel out and see what he's about. I'm pretty sure you'll like it if you haven't been there yet. Sounds a little weird at first if you're new to this. The Cult of Con, he explains it pretty well. It's not exactly what you think it is, but it's you'll enjoy his content. Trust me. If you do trust me, trust that I'm telling you right. You won't regret hanging out with Cult of Con. All right, back on track. It says, and the angel said unto me, why did you marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, and which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. Now, there's a million YouTube channels out there, and there's a lot of content creators and even churches they've already told you what all that stuff is. But they didn't actually read the rest of it to you and tell you what the book tells us what all this is. And I just find that interesting. How that's the problem. That's what led to all of this. Is that people see these words. Oh, those words right there, they stand out. Let me get fixated. Let me fixate on that right there. Let's get stuck right there and stick with that. And it's the same thing that's happened with the church in Revelation chapter 13. They just, the heck with the other 9 chapters that come after chapter 13. All right. Oh man, Jenny Murphy, Tartarian Prepper is with us. I see, and Joffrey as well. I hope I didn't miss anybody else. Glad to see you guys have made it with us. And mated. That sounds bad because it's not. It sounds like I'm saying 2 different words. Um, glad you guys are here with us. There we go. All right. Let me get let me get a drink. I'm going to swap that tea out for some water because I don't think that tea is helping with my thirst problem. All right, where was I? Where were we? All right. He says, so the angel's telling him, he's going to tell him what the mysteries of all this is, the horns, the heads, and the whore. He's about to tell him. The beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit and go into perdition, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. So I'm reading that like I'm trying to, I don't know, I'm trying to make clear, I'm trying to make this thing clear. When I'm reading this slow like that, it's because the beast that thou sawest was and is not and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. That's past, present, and future. That's all that is. And then goes into perdition. This is what happens after all of this takes place. He goes into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth, that shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. And here is the mind which hath wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. It's talking about these 7 heads are the 7 mountains. It's 7, I think that's right. So we have a 7 and a 5 that we've got to focus on here. The 7 heads and the 10 horns. I believe the 10 are their kingdoms. It says the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings. Oh, well, see, I was about to do what everybody else does. I'm about to break this thing down. Just keep reading. And then the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. What this is talking about, it's the 10 powers, the 10 nations that really kind of created the first of our new world order. It's after the millennial kingdom, you're going to have, so the 7, the 7, where was that? The 7 heads. That's before the millennial kingdom. Then you have the 10 I think I'm saying it right. Yeah, the 10 horns, that's after the millennial kingdom. It's 2 different periods of time that we're going to have to be dealing with here. It's going to make that more clear. Hold on. Let me just keep reading before I get too far off on that. It says, these shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is the Lord of lords and the King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. That's okay. So we went through all of that. That goes all that takes place at the beginning of his millennial kingdom when he comes back in 70 AD and starts uprooting all the kings. That's what it's referred to right now. It says, for God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. What this is telling you is that even though those kings were doing awful things, God God is allowing that. He's letting them do that. They have to do that. If they don't, then all of this becomes a lie anyways. I mean, it just becomes prophecy jumbo gumbo that's neither here nor there. It's just something made up, and then it becomes a fiction book. Is this not real? It didn't happen. So if for them to say something is going to happen and then write it has to happen. The good and the bad. That's all that's telling you, is that even the bad, God is in control. There's nowhere in the world, really, even though Satan is the ruler, the beast, God ultimately is in control. And the woman which thou sawest in the great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. So actually, I messed that up on reading that, so I'll correct it. It says, for God hath put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest in the great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth. All right. Moving on, let's see, chapter 18. We're almost to chapter 20, guys. Another episode, I think, will be there, and we will have caught up to where everybody is at within this little season community, and why we're all fascinated with Revelation. Hopefully, y'all understand that all these gory, horrific events that we've been reading about, and I know some of you understand it's good that we don't have to deal with that. It's so good. I just want other people to understand that is one of the blessings that it comes with being us. Even that's called seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, basically. I think there's another phrase for that, but I can't think of it right now. Let's see if I can get caught back up with Chad here. All right. Ain't buying it. Jenny Murphy says, I'm thinking God placed us strategically in the midst of many who do not see. It's, oh man, it's so weird. That's not a good word. And it's fascinating that you say that, Ain't Buying It. So Ain't Buying It says, I'm thinking God placed us strategically in the midst of many who do not see. I've had that same thought before. I've kind of looked at it like, everybody that I know that does know a little bit about what we're talking about, or even a lot, we're all scattered. I mean, it was a blessing to see JT and Ricardo be able to get together and do a video and hang out together in real life. But for the most part, yeah, it does seem that way. It just seems like you've got millions of people all over the world, and there's just little random dots of truthers here and there, just scattered throughout here and there. So yeah, I've kind of had that same thought before, Ain't Buying It, and so I kind of feel where you're coming from with that. Parables make a lot more sense now. Speaking in them, I mean. That's from Joffrey. And then Deanna says, yes, Sunday service was good. I think it was, Ain't Buying It talking about, she says, I think it was a Pangea then. Earthquakes happened and separated the earth into continents and torched a third of the earth. Yeah, exactly. So if you guys want me to do more on that, we can. But once I complete this Revelation series, before we jump into another series, I'll kind of go over that some more. But yeah, you're right. That is what happened. For those that are new to this, the world is comprised of several continents and oceans and seas, but it wasn't always that way. They were together, but not exactly the way they tell us. Kind of and kind of not. This is one of those things that we're going to have to talk about some more and kind of go over it and hash out. But I'm of the belief that Pangea, as we're taught, the actual landmass of it is still there somewhere, and we're not there at all. We're a totally different group of lands, but our group of lands were together and have separated. So they did separate, but when they were together, they weren't probably the same lands as the current as the Pangea. I just think there was just two big bodies of land. All I'm saying is I think there's more land out there, but whether there's more land or not, it's not a thing that it's a rabbit hole that many truthers and conspiracy people end up going into. The only issue with those type of rabbit holes is that it can help you with your understandings when it comes to the Bible, but it's not necessary. Just in the same way, it wasn't necessary to put in the Bible how Cain ended up creating a city. Where did all those people? I mean, a lot of people have speculated that there were other people outside of Adam and Eve, and I don't buy that. I think that things that are not in the Bible are not in there, not because there's no knowledge of them, because it's not necessary. At the end of the day, if all of this is going to be destroyed and God's going to create a new world for all of us, then it really doesn't matter what was or what it used to be or what it is now. None of this really matters. Except that we understand who made this, who gave us this time, who gave us this opportunity, and we understand the sacrifices that come with that free gift, that gift of life, that gift of opportunity, and that sacrifice being Jesus, dying for our sins. And that's one thing that we agree with every other Christian community. So out of all the different denominations and thoughts of of belief or whatever, I mean, we're on the same team. We're preparing for two different ends. Some of us are prepared, or not us, but some people are preparing for 1,000 years. And some of us are preparing for eternity. I mean, it's really the only difference. But at the end of the day, I think in our hearts is what truly matters, because a lot of our downfall and the lack of a lot of our knowledge comes from having been taught the wrong things for so many generations, and that's none of our fault. It's our fault once we're made aware of it and we continue to play along with it. And that's the one thing that most people, just in general, have a problem with, and that's staying focused on what's right and what's wrong versus what's right to me and what's wrong to me. What's wrong to me and what's right to me is not the same as it would be to you possibly, but that's not necessarily, that really doesn't matter. What matters is what is right and what is wrong, and it's the same way with Scripture, and it's the same way with everything else in this world when it comes to trying to figure things out. At least that's how I've always viewed it. Let's see. Deanna says, "It has been amazing. Even if they are the only two, it was so worth looking a little wackadoo. I think I missed something. Let's go back. All right. Okay. So let's start right here. Very close friend of mine, 10 years plus, has started looking into the little season theory because she saw the light that has come into my life since I found the truth. And my roommate believed as soon as I laid it all out for her. I haven't met many people who were receptive, but the Lord prepares the hearts. You know, that's amazing you said that. As a plumber, I get to meet people, and I don't get to necessarily talk about everything I believe with every customer I have. Obviously, you don't want to offend people, but occasionally I do get an opportunity, and when I do, man, I love taking that opportunity to tell people, say, hey, have you ever read Matthew chapter 4? I mean chapter 24, and just see what they say, and then see where that leads. And usually, a lot of people are receptive to this, that I've found, but it's the ones that have maintained the habit of going to church, the tradition of going to the traditional church regularly. Those are the ones that tend to be, I get the most pushback from when it comes to the little season. But that's cool that your friends and your roommate are receptive to it, Deanna. At least you have people that are close to you. You can talk to. A lot of us don't have that. Which I can't say that for myself anymore, because as it turns out, God is now starting to bring others into my life. I just ran into a good old friend of mine. I haven't seen him in a long time. I just seen him the other day, and I look forward to hanging out with him. And I'm actually going to see if I can't get him in here on a podcast with me. I think that would be fun. You guys would enjoy talking with him or listening to him tell his little story. But it's just a blessing. It's like you I don't know. We know you can pray and ask for anything, but I don't know. There's certain things I just don't ask for. Like, I don't ask to be rich. I just ask for understanding. I just ask for what I need, and it seems like He gives it to me. And if I feel like I need company, He provides me with that company. But a lot of times, I don't have to worry about that because, well, I mean, I can get on here and I can hang out with you guys if I want company, but it doesn't matter if I don't have company. It's because God needs me to do something else, and at least that's where I try to focus my thoughts. It's like, okay, what do I need to do right now? I can't get on live. I'm not on the computer. I'm not at nobody's house. I don't have anything to do. What do I need to do with my time? And if I can't think of anything, I'll just sit back and open a book and start reading, see, and try to learn something. Or I might play video games, which I don't have any games right now. I'm gonna have to find one. uh, all right, so I kind of strayed a little bit there, actually. I was just kind of got. See, that's what happens. I read you every time I read you guys comments. I get lost in what you're talking about. So I don't want to get too lost in this discussion. I want to make it through chapter 18 at least tonight. So carrying on and moving forward, verse 1, chapter 18. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. Now, before John was taken to a great wilderness in the spirit, and he was shown everything. Well, now he's not in the spirit anymore, because now he says, after these things, that's after. He says, so after where he was, he's no longer in the spirit. It says after. It says, after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lighted with his glory. This angel was so glorious that you probably, whether it was daylight or not, it didn't matter where you were, and this thing is bright. And it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the Great is fallen, is fallen. There we go with that is fallen, is fallen. That's just letting you know, grammatically, that's two different places, realistically. Now, there's a lot of speculation on this. I tend to agree with Jason Jack. I believe that is Rome and the Mystery Babylon is what I believe that is. It says, the Babylon the Great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Now, backing up what I was just talking about, the great is fallen. Regardless of what I believe about that, if you wanted to avoid the possibilities of what that could be and just kind of stick with what it says, you could look at this as it's telling you is fallen, is a spiritual fall and then a physical fall. It's saying that they became corrupt, which is them falling spiritually, and then from that the nations get destroyed and they go through tribulation and everything's just wiped out, it's gone. And so you could look at that is fallen as it's both the physical and spiritual, but in the same breath you would say Rome and Mystery Babylon symbolize the same concept. It's not anything that we need to focus too much on. It's just to let you know the severity of this. And then it says, for all the nations have drunk the wine of wrath of her fornications, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. So it's just like, this is Elon Musk, for a lack of better words. This is your Donald Trumps. This is your Bilderberg groups. This is your Rothschilds. This is your Carnegies. This is your wealthy people. It's all the businessmen. It's everybody who has benefited from the sin in this world. That's everybody. It's all these people. It's what that's referring to right there. But then it's going to say, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. This is him giving a warning. It's telling his people, saying, look, if you're my people, y'all need to leave. Get out of the cities. Go into the woods. It's not going to be comfortable, and no, you're not going to have Wi-Fi internet, and you're not going to be able to get your hair done or your nails did. You need to leave the city, though. It's what he's telling them. He's giving them a fair warning. Get out before you suffer. You don't want to go through what they're going through. Now, those people that we're talking about that are fleeing, that it's telling them to flee, it's warning them, we had already read about those people previously in an earlier chapter. I think it was 14. But what we were reading then, if you were looking at it from John's perspective, this is he was basically telling you past, present, and future, condensed. Then he kind of goes into details of each event. And so basically he's just kind of giving you an outline, and now he's going through the breakdown of each one. And so in verse 5 it says, for her sins have reached out unto heaven, and God had remembered her iniquities. It's just letting you know that to those people that God is not happy. He's letting them know that God's not happy with these kings and these rulers and the people of that time. And so if you want to stay there, you're going to end up being one of these people that accepts the mark of the beast, plain and simple. You need to get out of Babylon. That's what he's telling them. It's all that is there. But this would be happening. I'm going to say as John is standing there watching this unfold. But it would be the same as if it were happening today and you are watching it. You're sitting at your home seeing all this go down, but you're not really seeing. I mean, you're kind of seeing it, but you're seeing it from your one little tiny home or little place on earth. And so he's seeing all this, but we're reading it as if it's happening like this. Like the minute we read it, it's happened, and then now we're done reading it. It's no longer. That's not how these things work. This would have been an event that would have been dragging out over a period of days, if not months or years. But we've already went through some of that, and for those that are new to this, so if you want to kind of get caught back up with what I'm referring to in this, you'll have to go back to my earlier episodes, and I can't remember which one I might address that in, but I know it did. But regardless of that, for those that are new to this and that are here now hanging out, this is what I'm referring to in that. Is that as these events are taking place now, this is no longer visions. He's saying it, even though we read it as if it's happening the way you can snap your finger. We have to understand that he's letting us know that this would be the equivalent of present day events if you were there. That's all. That's all that is. And it's hard to convince people of that, just me saying it. This requires study in period era time grammar. This is a linguist thing. But I'm not trying to go into that kind. This isn't that kind of lesson, but that's essentially what that is that. And so for people that would be new to this, if you remove everything else that you've been taught, all the extra garbage, and you read this thing for what it says in line upon line, precept, that's context, then it makes it easier to see this. But for some reason, your preacher's not going to sit here and break this down for you like that. He don't have time for that. He's gonna get up there and give you a nice message, make you feel good, and hope that you come back and see him next Sunday or on Wednesday or whatever days that he has you come and hang out with him. But that's why I'm breaking it down for you, for those that would be new to this. And so, like I said, I'm also reading it like this and explaining it like this because this is kind of how, well, this is the way I was raised by my daddy as far as understanding anything. You just got to, look at it from the simplest. It either says this or it don't say that. That way you can't ever be confused, So moving on, it says, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she had filled to her double. And this is talking about, for her sins have reached into the heavens, and God hath remembered her iniquities. He's saying that reward her even as she rewarded you. So if this is going to be hard for a lot of people to understand without removing the self from this. Reward her even as she rewarded you. All right, so if I'm rich and let's say I have $1 billion and I earn that $1 billion by getting you to buy a product from me. But let's say the product I'm selling is See, I don't have a lot of hair up here. So let's just say the product I'm selling is hair growth. It's a hair growth product. You buy my product. I'm a billionaire, and now you don't have any hair. All your hair is gone. You don't even have eyebrows or eyelashes. Essentially, I sold you a product promising you one thing, it gave you something else. Reward her even as she rewarded you. On one hand, people would argue and say, it don't matter because I'm a billionaire. So what if you hate me? So what if you don't like me? You bought the product. I got the money. I'm a billionaire. Reward her even as she rewarded you, for her sins have reached unto the heaven. What I'm trying to tell you here is what that is explaining to you, or what that's telling you is that, yeah, even though some people in the world may have wealth and status and opportunity, and they're treated like idols, celebrities of sorts, it doesn't, that they're everything, that what led them to what they have are the sins and against each other people. It's hurt the way that in other words, they could not gain what they had without committing atrocities to other people. It's like, if I want to sell something to you guys for $10, but I need people to build the thing for me, and the thing that I'm building costs me now $12 to build. I can't still sell it to you for $10. I would lose money. So maybe I will send my business, I'll send my warehouse overseas. Now it's in China and it costs me 30 cents, and I can sell it to you for $10. I'm now taking advantage of this group of people because they don't have the same rules, the same leadership, the same understandings as our people. That's all that's trying to say, and I hope that makes sense to you guys. And if it doesn't, I apologize. But that's all that's telling you. For her sins have reached out unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double for her according to her work. So everything that propelled her is going to be done. Everything she did to others is going to be done to her. It's the same thing with everyone else and that's around. Everybody that has made their wealth off the backs and torment of others, or deception, or any of that, that's all that's talking about right there. I have to clarify that and break that up like that because of doctrines, man. I mean, it is what it is. All these doctrines come from one or two of these lines in any of these books. Like Baptist is based off of these lines. Methodist is based off of these lines, and it's silly, and we shouldn't do that. But that's what happens when we don't, or we're not taught how to read this correctly. And that's not our fault. That's the ones that came before us. It's their fault. All right, let's see. Moving on. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. See, that just told you everything I just said. I didn't have to tell you. I didn't have to, go ahead and just tell you how I perceived that, because we could have just kept reading and it would have just told us everything I just said. Just they condense it. It's short version. It's a 7th grade reading level. It's all that is. Therefore, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and live deliciously with her. shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. In 1 hour, all this takes place, is what that's telling you. Like, quickly. This is not it's no longer going to be drawn out. It's your time is up. It's over just like that. When Jesus shows up like a thief in the night, it's over with. It's game over. He is now in charge. There's no more let's debate about. It's not going to be a political debate. There's not going to be a race to see who's going to be. Are we voting for Jesus? Or are we voting for Satan? No. Jesus. He's in charge. And that's all that's telling you again for the second time. And remember, this book repeats itself. Every time something needs to be made important, you're gonna see it multiple times. It doesn't mean it's happened multiple times. That's just letting you know it's important. It's why some things are important and some things aren't. It's now mentioned this again, that is basically letting you know that when Jesus comes, he comes quickly. Says the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stone and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all thine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory, all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass, iron and marble, cinnamon, odors, ointments, frankincense, wine, oil, flour, wheat, beasts, sheep, horses, chariots, slaves, and souls of men. Everything is affected. Everything on earth, anything alive, anything you can imagine, if it exists, it's affected by what's going on. That's what that's letting you know right there. It's just bringing all of it, letting you know everything. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all the things that were dainty and goodly are departed no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried when they saw smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city? This city, Babylon, is on fire. It's burning. It's California. It's what's going on in California, except it's not wildfire. The whole city is burning. This is a common theme, though. This is where I believe all the 1800 fires, the idea for that comes from. I believe these crazy folks read this book. They've seen what God did, what Jesus did, and they said, we're going to do what Jesus did. But instead of burning down the enemy's cities, basically, they burned down Jesus's cities. I think that's what happened with this, is that people, seriously, psychopaths read this thing and said, hey, we could make this happen again. We could do that. That's a good, you know what? It worked for Jesus. It ought to work for us. And in a way, it kind of has. everything that Jesus has done, Satan does the opposite of it. It just looks, because it's the exact mirror opposite of it, it looks so similar, which is why we have a hard time separating the two. Like, yeah, exactly, Trey. Like kind of like the Mandela effect. Exactly. Says, Ain't buying it says, Thus saith the Lord God, Woe to the women that sew pillars to all armholes and make handkerchiefs come upon heads, and every stature to hunt souls will ye hunt thee. Hunt the souls of my people, and will ye save the souls alive that come unto you. We live in the inversion of good. All right, let's see. Oh, that's Ezekiel 13:18. And say, Thus saith the Lord God, Woe to the woman that sew pillows to all armholes and makes kerchiefs upon the head of every statue and hunt souls. Will ye hunt the souls of thy people, and will ye save the souls alive that come unto you? Okay. So she's and Brian is quoting from Ezekiel, and he's just another reference to basically what we're talking about, as far as where we were reading right here, where it says talking about and saying, alas, great city was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. Earlier, where it's talking about the fornications and all the different things, and she's going to get rewarded, but all her rewards are going to be everything that it costs to get those rewards. She's going to end up paying that cost eventually. Yeah, everybody does. We all pay for our sins. It's basically what that's telling us, and I think that's kind of what I'm getting from the chat there with that. But all right, so you guys, I'm going to get too far off with this, so I'm going to get back on track here. And it says, And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all the headships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. This is them saying that all the martyrs, everybody that was killed, they're sitting here going, they're crying. This is what it was referring to earlier, where it was talking about the people were crying about how they've been killed, and they're just waiting, like, come on, I mean, when are you going to avenge us? When is the end going to have? And he's saying to be patient, for the time is at hand, it's coming, to just be patient. That's what it's referring to right there, where it says, Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. That you is not you and me. He's avenged the martyred Christians. That's the ones that were killed for their service to Jesus. That's not you and me. But people will read that sometimes and see that word you, and they just assume, oh yeah, that's future events, must be me. They're talking about me, and that's one of our issues with truly understanding what this thing says, is learning that not all the yous in here are literally you or you, me and you. It's a different you. It's you, him, or them. And then it says in 21, and a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. The reason I feel like that is an important line to understand is because this explains why you can't find Babylon today. We find evidence of Pompeii. They found evidence of Nineveh even. They found evidence of all these different places. There's no evidence of Babylon because you're just not going to find it. It's there shall be found none, no more at all. If we're going to take any of this literal, we should take all of it literal. And that's all I'm trying to point out with that. If we're going to take any of it literal, take all of it literal. And then literally it says, and thus with violence shall the great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. Maybe that doesn't mean exactly what it says, but it's hard to say that if you're looking at this from a literal perspective. In verse 22 it says, and the voice of harpers and musicians, pipers, trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee, and the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more. And thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by their sorceries were all nations deceived. This is letting you know that this is telling you right here who all the players are, all the chess pieces. These are all your chess pieces. The voice of harpers. What are the voice of harpers? That's singers. It's musicians. It's artists, music artists. That's what that is. Musicians, pipers. It's trumpeters. All shall be heard no more at all in thee. Craftsmen, whatsoever. That's people who build these amazing houses, these $1 million mansions, and fancy things that you don't really need, but people want them and like them. Of whatsoever craft shall be found no more. In other words, it doesn't matter what job you have. If you're the DMV lady, the bus lady, the school lunch lady, whether you're a bulldozer driver, a professional bass fisherman, or you're the president of the United States, or you're down in Puerto Rico hanging out, it didn't matter who you are. It's all that's telling you right there. That not as far as us goes, but in that day, it wouldn't have mattered who you were, your status, your wealth, your position, your authority, none of that mattered, because it will be heard no more at all in this city. It's gone. It's done for. Because all these people are the reason those people were deceived. No different than in today, where all people are deceived by that black mirror we call a TV, and all the people behind that screen. They have deceived all of us. They don't do it all on purpose. Some of them do. Some of them are just doing their jobs. But regardless, they're all partakers in the sorceries that led to where we're at, where all nations were deceived. This is just letting you know that there's never been a time in human history where everybody was not deceived, except for the 1,000 years that Jesus reigns on earth. The reason I'm pointing that out is because within the rabbit holes of discovery, when it comes to conspiracy theories, a lot of times what happens is we go down these rabbit holes looking for information, trying to learn things. We get away from the Bible. And when it's talking about for the merchants and the great men of the earth and all the sources and all the nations were deceived, it's letting you know that from the day that Adam left the garden all the way to Jesus, Satan has been in charge and has deceived everybody. And through these rabbit holes, you'll get a little bit of information here, a little bit of information here. This information seems similar to this, so they must they must belong to the same source or the same genre of thought. And what I'm pointing out is this information could come from 1 year. This information could come from a totally different era, like a totally different time period. What I'm saying is that even like there was never a time the devil wasn't in charge and deceiving people until Jesus rules the earth for that 1,000 years. That's the only reason everything is so similar throughout. When you're looking into the millennial kingdom and you start looking into all these old buildings and all these old structures, you start seeing that. Okay, so finally finishing up here, it says, and in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. All right, that's the end of chapter 18. And actually, I want to read this again. It says, and in her was found the blood of prophets and of the saints and all that were slain upon the earth. It's just telling you, right? All that's telling you is that within the city, you got all these evildoers, and then you got God's people that have suffered as a result. And now, it's just letting you know that there is no separation. Like, some people didn't make it. Some of God's people didn't make it out. But vengeance like they get their vengeance. God gets vengeance for them. All right. When we come back on Thursday this week, we'll pick back up with chapter 19, and we will continue this, and we will be in chapter 20. We'll get through 19 and we'll be at chapter 20. And hopefully, if you're new to this channel or to this series, you go back and watch season or episode 1 all the way through. We go through every line this way, all the way up to where we're at right now. So I don't want to lose anybody, but also I'm doing it this way so that if you don't have time and don't feel like watching those other videos, you're not going to be behind no matter what video you watch, whether it's this one or an earlier one. You can watch this one because we're focusing on each individual line anyways. I'm not trying to bounce back and forth between scriptures, which we will have to do that at some point, but we haven't had to do that a lot or at all yet. So doing pretty good with that. But yeah, we'll be picking back up on Thursday with chapter 19, and we will have caught up to where we're at within the Bible as far as Revelation goes, and where we're at within the little season. I want to see if I can catch back up with Chad. I see some people are saying goodnight, and I know it's getting pretty late for a lot of people. Want to make sure I didn't miss anything or any major questions or comments or statements. Let's see. All right. I'm going to enjoy going back and reading back through these. Says, if you fly them, Joffrey says, if you fly them like sailing a ship on the trade winds and jet streams, you could really move and use hardly any gas. And he's talking about blimps. And as far as the blimps using the air currents, it's just, so they're brainstorming over ways that that they could have utilized these technologies without it actually costing us an arm and a leg the way it does today. That's pretty good. Let's see. I can't hang, family. I've been awake since 5:30 a.m. Deanna, I understand that. That is a long day. Well, I'm thankful that you were able to hang out as long as you did, and but of course, there's always replay button. If you want to catch the last little bit of this, you could always come back. I see we've had a full house, and you guys have do like you always do, and y'all have your conversations, and you're talking about other things, but also a lot of you are following along with what we're talking about here as well. So I'm thankful to see that. The thing is, y'all need, for those that are new to this, especially when y'all see chat, I understand when we're in chat talking and like they're doing, they're not following what's being said. Trust me, they are. I know that you guys are listening to me, but I also know that y'all are multitasking. We are master multitaskers in this little season community. Um, but as far as all that goes, we're gonna wrap this up for the evening. I wanted to say thank you guys for being here. You guys are awesome and amazing. Um, and I'm just thankful for each and every one of you. I know that this community is going to grow and it's going to continue to grow. And I'm not talking about my channel per se. I'm talking about just this fellowship, this real life community. And I don't really think it's going to be that much longer that we're going to be spread out the way we are. God is gathering his flock, and I believe that he's using every device available to us to make this happen. And so I want everybody to understand that you guys are amazing. You guys are the fruit of the earth. Y'all are the wheat of the earth, the cream of the crop. It is the best community. Join any of these other communities, and if you're not verbatim, and if you're not exactly repeating and regurgitating the information that they're already have consumed, then they're not going to correct you the way Ain't Buying It would. And if you guys know Ain't Buying It, if I said something wrong or if I misread something, Ain't Buying It would have corrected me. But it wouldn't have been out of hate, and it wouldn't have been out of anger or resentment. It would have just been, hey, brother, that's not right. It says this or it says that. And that's how we are with each other. And at least that's my experience. I can't speak for literally everybody, but as far as I'm concerned, as far as you guys watching me, that's been my experience. All of you guys are like me. We all have similar stories, male, female, none of that matters. We all have similar struggles. We all have been beat down, downtrodden. Some of us have lost things that we don't even want to bring up for fear of triggering somebody. But we have had to go through all of that to bring us to where we're at today. I wouldn't be able to look over at chat and see Pearl, Coriander, Deanna, Trey's JoJo, the Culticon, Ain't Buying It, Wendy. I wouldn't be able to see you guys in chat or to be able to talk to you or even speak to you or to say anything to you had I not been seeking the truth. If I had just been doing anything else or anything that involved putting me at the center of things, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be here with you guys, and you wouldn't be here with me because I would be somewhere else doing something else with a whole different group of people. And so that's why I know, that's why I can say the things I say about you guys in this community so confidently because when you really just sit down and think about it, it just makes sense. You guys are here because you're true seekers first, Jesus followers. And that's the main goal with all of this, is getting people to understand the truth about Jesus, what he meant, what he was meant to do, what he means for you to do, and who we are and what our purpose is. Other than that, I wanted to bid you guys a farewell and a good evening. You guys have been an amazing audience. Amazing, amazing. I don't know. I wish there were other words that you guys haven't heard yet, and we could come up with those words to describe you guys. Because I would love to be able to add that in there to that vocabulary. But that, just to let you guys know, you guys are amazing. I love each and every one of you. It's been a blessing to have you guys here, and I will see you Thursday, same time, 8 to 10.